How's everyone this morning? So our topic is the journey in God. Emphasis on the preposition in. Oh, I like that one too. But let me tell you how I arrived at my title. How many of you were present for all or part of Women, Food, and God over the weeks leading up to today? And how many of you have read the book who weren't here or have heard of it? And isn't it absolutely fantastic? Well, there's a place toward the end where the author, Janine Roth, talks about the Sufi journey in 3 parts. And when I read that, it rekindled my interest in Islamic mysticism, which I haven't visited for a while. So I've been doing that recently. And I remembered how much I really love mysticism in general, and the Sufis in particular, and how so many of us think that Sufism is only about poetry, and it's not. It's about much, much more. There are countless Sufi masters who have forged a path, philosophically at least, for the modern mystic to follow. And a mystic is a metaphysician by definition, right? Because mysticism transcends the realm of ordinary life, the world of effect. And that's what we do in the realm of mind. So Sufism and metaphysics share many theoretical commonalities, and we can gain insight into the latter, ours, by closely examining the former, or theirs. So there's a lot for us to glean from the Sufis, and they're not that far afield from what we teach in Science of Mind. So in addition to absolutely beautiful poetry, what can the Islamic mystics offer us with regard to apprehending the true nature of life? Well, the Sufi path has 3 parts: the journey from God, the journey to God, and the journey in God. The first journey is an inevitable descent into separation from the absolute. The second necessitates an awakening of some sort. And the third is the actual realization of our true identity. On the surface, our identity may appear to be multifaceted. We are many things to many people. We can describe ourselves in terms of all kinds of things, from the specific to the general. Someone can say, I'm a school teacher and a Homo sapien, right? Or I'm green-eyed and bipedal. And there's everything in between. In the world of effect, we wear many, many labels. A few weeks ago, the granddaughter of a friend of mine asked me why I eat so many bananas. And I said, well, they're really delicious, and besides, I'm an ape. That's what we do. And she looked at me kind of funny, and then she said, well, what do you mean you're an ape? And I said, well, not of the big hairy variety. I'm kind of medium-sized and relatively hairless, but I'm an ape all the same. And she was still looking at me kind of funny. So I went on to explain in more detail, and I think I lost her at the taxonomic family hominid part. Of course, she did just start kindergarten. But someday she'll be in a biology class or an anthropology class or a primatology class, and she will see that I'm right. Yeah. So we're apes, all of us. We're hominids, along with gorillas and orangutans and chimpanzees. But probably the major characteristic that separates us from the other hominids is our rational mind. Interestingly, according to Islamic mysticism, rational mind is also the thing that separates us from God. Think about that. The Sufis believe that the intellect can only provide a certain type of knowledge. It can only provide information about the world of effect. Conversely, our knowledge of God must come through mystical experience. So, on the one hand, we have intellectual knowledge, which is advanced by the rational mind. It can only know about God. But we want to know as God knows. So there's a big difference between knowing about God and knowing as it knows. Where have we heard that before? Thank you, dear husband, for that excellent quote. So intellectual knowledge is necessarily indirect when it comes to God. If we want direct knowledge, we have to go deeper than that. It's from in here, never up here. Direct knowledge of God proceeds from truth with a capital T. This is the difference, again, between knowing about something and knowing as it knows. I really want to drive that point home for you, because anyone can know about anything, but to truly know it at your core and have the sense of being it, of totally embracing it and living as it, is very different. Ernest Holmes equated real knowledge with truth as well, positing that while we may believe something that is false, we can only know that which is true. St. Thomas Aquinas wrote, "If you know God, then it's not God." And the Zen Buddhists have my favorite saying of all, which is, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. This is about not getting caught up in appearances, isn't it? It's about going beyond the appearance to the real thing. Well, how do we get there? How do we get to the actual real thing? Well, it entails the journey in God. But before we talk about that, let's start at the beginning with the journey from God. Sufi wisdom holds that our birth is the zenith of creation. We come into this world pure and perfect. And as we grow, we begin to understand ourselves as separate individuals. This is where the trouble begins. We realize there is a material world all around us, and it's beautiful and exciting and filled with human potential. And with potential, of course, comes success. And there may also come failure. So we learn about competition and rivalry and opposition. In time, we judge our worth by our accomplishments, our salary, or our looks, by whatever the external trappings of our human life are. So as you can see, the journey from God does not mean we abandon the religion of our birth or give up on spirituality like many people do. The journey from God means that we grow comfortable living in the material world. So comfortable, in fact, that it doesn't even occur to us that separation is unnatural. It's just the way it is. And eventually, the memory of unity, of our divine origin, is irretrievable. We lose touch with that spiritual core of ours, which in reality is ever present. It's always there. And even if we do recognize it, it tends not to be as fun or exciting as everything else out there. Okay? I mean, who wants to meditate when you can go snowboarding with your friends? And we're out there, we're competing for status. We're climbing the ladder to success. We're accumulating wealth or doing whatever we're doing out there in the world of effect. So what the average modern person thinks of as success, the Sufi mystic calls descent, because the move away from God is a descent.